This has been such an exciting day.
This game, all of this is just in your head.
The episode begins as BAE Jin-soo gets conned by a friend and ends up owing loan sharks 900 million won. He does various odd jobs, including cleaning skyscrapers, but barely earns anything. About to jump off a bridge, he suddenly finds 4 million won deposited in his account and a limo arrives. He is taken to a grand theater where he receives an invitation to the 8 show. The rules are straightforward. He will be compensated for his time in the game. No specific skills are required. Food and accommodation are generously provided, and the prize money accumulates progressively as time goes on. The game concludes when the timer runs out, but if a participant dies, the game is terminated immediately. To join, he only needs to select a number as his ID, and if he decides to withdraw, he will receive a generous 20 million won for cab fare. Initially, Jin-soo dismisses it as a prank show, believing it to be an opportunity for easy money since participants supposedly cannot be killed. However, a gnawing fear that it might be a front for organ harvesting surfaces, making him hesitant and ready to walk away. His resolve to leave is shaken when he receives only 220,000 won from his boss for a week's worth of grueling work. The stark reality of his hopeless situation dawns on him, and in a moment of desperation and recklessness, he decides to take the gamble. He picks card number 3 and steps into the unknown, driven by the faint hope that this game might offer an escape from his dire circumstances. He enters a lavish studio complex with 8 distinct levels, each designed with a sleek, modern aesthetic. The first thing he notices is a large, prominently displayed timer, counting down from just 24 hours. With a mix of curiosity and apprehension, he uses his card to access 3F, the 3rd floor. The door slides open to reveal a stark, minimalist room. Inside, there's a large scoreboard on one wall, an intercom system, several surveillance cameras strategically placed, a screen that serves as a window, a neatly folded uniform on the bed, and a thick rule book on a small table. As he scans through the rule book, he learns about the additional regulations. He must store all his personal belongings in a provided locker and wear the designated uniform at all times. He can purchase items through the intercom at a special rate, but these items must remain in his room, and their costs will be subtracted from his accumulating prize money. Alternatively, he can buy items outside in a communal area known as the square, located on the ground floor. There are strict curfew rules. All participants must stay in their rooms from midnight to 8 a.m., and they are forbidden from obstructing the cameras. Violating any of these rules results in a severe penalty, with half of their prize money being deducted immediately. Jin-soo feels a mix of excitement and trepidation as he contemplates the game ahead. The allure of the prize money is strong, but the stringent rules and pervasive surveillance remind him of the serious stakes involved. Determined to make the most of this opportunity, he changes into the uniform, locks away his personal items, and prepares to navigate the challenges of the 8 show. The show begins at midnight, and Jin-soo realizes he has only a minute to get ready. He hurriedly changes and the game starts. To his surprise, he earns 30k won for just passing a minute in the game. Watching the scoreboard for an hour, he calculates that he can earn 43 million won just by staying for 24 hours. A week in the game could pay off his debt, but there's a catch. It's cold, and he needs to pee. He tries to buy a blanket, but finds it costs 1 million won, 100 times the store rate. Drawing on his experience with poverty, he purchases discarded newspapers, a cardboard box to sleep on, and an empty bottle for his needs. By morning, Jin-soo had made over 14 million won. Venturing out, he meets the other 7 participants in the square. However, the timer has increased to 35 hours. Each participant has distinct characteristics. They discover that everything in the square is fake. Items bought in their rooms cannot be taken outside, so they need to purchase waste bags in the square for the toilet. 4F worries about spending too much, while 7F suggests voting on purchases. Ignoring this, 6F orders cigarettes. The timer decreases by 2 minutes, and 7F deduces that they buy items with their time in the square. Jin-soo quickly calculates that a minute is worth 2,500 won. 4F panics, checks her scoreboard, and is relieved to see her prize money remains unchanged. If they spend all their time, the game will end and they won't accumulate more prize money. They wonder if wealthy sponsors would invest in such an expensive show if participants could easily finish it in a day. This implies there must be additional rules to keep them playing longer. They decide to discuss what to buy, but their preferences clash. After much debate, they end up purchasing buckets, toilet rolls, sanitary pads, garbage bags, and cigarettes. Now they face the problem of food, having not eaten anything. 8F reveals she was given 12 different meal kits. Jin-soo and the others try to convince her to share, but she is non-committal, pointing out that she didn't know the others didn't get food and that she was supposed to share. Besides, the food can't be taken out of their rooms. 5F tries to mediate, but 7F proposes a solution, using the chute to distribute food to the lower levels. To ensure even distribution, they agree to go to each floor, starting with 8F. 1F struggles with climbing. The participants are surprised when they enter 8F's room. It's the largest, with a huge window, bathtub, dining table, and mirror. A minute passes and they see that 8F earns 340K every minute, while 1F earns only 10K. They realize that the prize money decreases with each lower floor. The scene shifts to 8F's story. As the second participant, she arrives in a gown, chirpy and excited. She jumps into the fake pool, accidentally breaking her nose. Her room is initially empty, so she smokes, gets fully naked before changing into the uniform, and burns her old clothes. Once the game starts, she earns 340K a minute and splurges on luxurious items like silk nightgowns, beds, pillows, toilets, a mirror, a dining table, books, and bathtubs. She receives 12 sets of meal kits and various types of water, but barely eats and uses the drinking water for baths. She spends all her money but earns it back quickly by sleeping. In the present, the rest reveal their earnings. 7F gets 210K, 6F gets 130K, 5F gets 80K, 4F gets 50K, and 2F gets 20K. 7F realizes the prize money follows the Fibonacci sequence, creating a golden ratio that is visually pleasing for a TV show. As they tour each room, they notice the rooms get progressively smaller. While the others are conflicted by this, 8F enjoys the trampoline, irritating them. For food, 7F devises a plan. They all select one meal, and the leftovers will be on the first floor so everyone can sit together and eat to build trust. Chaos ensues when 8F chef uses up their remaining time to buy clothes, leaving them with only 13 minutes. Everyone panics. 2F confronts 8F, who claims the timer can be extended via the stairs, but demands an apology from 2F for being rude. In desperation, 1F starts running up the stairs, and the others follow. They go up and down until the timer ends, but it resets to 24 hours. 8F knew this because she noticed the timer increasing during their room tour. After the day ends, Jin-soo recalls 7F's hypothesis. The game runners want the participants to fight each other. Cooperation is the key to winning. Frustrated with his makeshift toilet, Jin-soo orders a porta-potty. That night, everyone struggles with minimal essentials except 8F, who prances in her clothes, and 7F, who writes down everything they've learned. The next day, they start running the stairs. The timer extends, increasing their money, and they get to eat daily. However, the 12 daily meal kits aren't enough, so they split into two teams. The teams alternate on the stairs, and the leftovers go to the team running that day. They pick odd and even numbers, but 2F refuses to join the evens because of 8F. Instead, 1F joins them. One day, 1F falls, nearly causing an accident. As he rests, 6F twists his arm for wasting time, shocking everyone, and 2F subs in. The next day, 2F is exhausted from running her actual turn. When 1F struggles again due to his worsening leg, Jin-soo steps in to sub for 2F. He feels good about helping, but is exhausted by the end of the day. 4F causes problems by telling 1F to give his share to Jin-soo. 2F points out that the evens team gets 8F's share since she barely eats. 1F feels guilty and Jin-soo is hungry, but everyone altruistically makes 1F eat the leftovers. With everyone subbing in for 1F, he decides to use the chute to store everyone's waste in his room. A society forms, with 8F's meal leftovers divided among the rest, 2F subbing in whenever she can because she is strong, and 1F given extra necessities. However, 1F starts running out of room due to the waste, and Jin-soo can barely stomach the leftovers due to the smell. Jin-soo joins 7F, who notices a glitch. The time has been slowly reducing daily, despite the same amount of stairs running. Suddenly, 10 minutes are added while everyone is resting. The next day, everyone notices the timer slowing down. 8F tries to take a break, and 2F picks a fight. 8F points out that those on the lower levels should work harder for the time since they refuse to spend their money. Jin-soo realizes that an hour on the second floor is worth only 1.2 million won, while on the 8th floor, it's 20.4 million won. 8F has no reason to spend the shared time since she can use her prize money for things. However, 8F is running so that 2F can use the shared time to buy essentials, meaning the upper floors are doing more work. 6F realizes this too and takes a break. The others join the remaining team members, but despite running for 6 hours, the timer doesn't go up. They have only a couple of minutes left before midnight, but suddenly the timer increases by 20 minutes. It keeps increasing again and again, making them think it was just a glitch. But the next morning, the timer doesn't reset, and they frantically start running. Suddenly, 4F has a seizure, and they need to order medicine. 6F refuses, arguing that it would use up their time, reasoning that 4F won't die from a seizure. He becomes aggressive when 2F tries to reach the intercom. Soon, everyone jumps in to stop 6F and manages to order the medicine. They are all bleeding and struggling on the floor when they hear 8F laughing. She shows them that the timer has increased by 40 hours. 7F recalls the camera and realizes that a show is only successful if it is entertaining. The scene shifts to 7F's backstory. He meticulously investigates the studio before starting the game. In the present, the participants realize that the timer extends when viewers are entertained. Jin-soo tries mukbang and ASMR, but it doesn't work. He is interrupted by 7F, who likes Jin-soo for subbing in for 1F. It's also revealed that 7F doesn't send his waist to 1F's room, earning Jin-soo's trust. They discuss strategies to entertain the audience, realizing it doesn't have to be just funny violent acts, might also extend the timer. During the group discussion, 8F predictably suggests wrestling. However, 7F steers the ideas towards comedy, and they eventually settle on talent shows. He goes first, playing a recorder with his nose. Everyone is impressed, and the timer extends by 20 hours. 7F also proposes they need to decide when to end the game. 5F suggests that 1F should decide since he earns the least. 1F states he needs $1 billion, which means staying in the game for 2.5 months. The prize money increases for everyone, with 8F aiming for $34 billion, so they all agree. During the talent show, everyone has an idea except Jin-soo, who is unsure of his talent. The participants begin, and each wins different amounts of time. There's singing, tile breaking, high kicks, playing on the slide, and even off-key yodeling. Jin-soo dances awkwardly and secures only 18 minutes. He thinks 1F will be worse, but 1F has everyone laughing with his miming and clown tricks, securing the most time with 30 hours. Finally, 8F is the only one left, claiming her talent is in bed. Jin-soo is intrigued, but after 7F passes his chance, she picks 6F, who is more than ready. They put on a show and secured 69 hours. With a total of 5 days secured, 1F raises concerns about the waste storage in his room since they aren't running anymore. No one volunteers, so they decide to vote on whose room to use. Jin-soo worries they will vote for him since he was last in the talent show. 4F, worried too as she is second last, manipulates 1F, Jin-soo, and 7F to pick 8F. She fears for 7F when 6F calls him out, but Jin-soo trusts him. However, 6F tells 7F that he and 8F are voting for Jin-soo, and 7F agrees. On the day of the vote, it ended in a tie between 8F and Jin-soo. A flashback reveals that 6F tried to persuade 2F, but she voted for 8F. Despite this, 8F celebrates the outcome. The timer extends by a day thanks to the voting and scheming. Jin-soo confronts 7F, wondering who else voted for him since 5F abstained. It turns out the third vote was from 7F, who advised him to let it go. Meanwhile, 1F and 2F bond as she helps sort the waste in his room, making space for him to sleep. At that moment, 4F needs to use the toilet, but 8F refuses. Everyone is confused as they try to explain the voting results to her. She understands but doesn't care, taking it a step further by hoarding all the food that day and leaving empty kits for the rest. The scene transitions to 4F's backstory. Indecisive by nature, she initially picks 8 before settling on 4. In her room, she struggles with what to buy and continuously writes affirmations to motivate herself. In the present, everyone suffers due to the lack of food, but they gain more time as the audience enjoys their misery. 4F, with low blood sugar, is barely conscious, and 5F starts hallucinating. 2F wants to end the game, but 1F begs, knowing he's as good as dead without the $1 billion won. Jin-soo, realizing he can't face the loan sharks without the 900 million won, agrees to keep the waste. 4F offered to take half, as she also didn't secure much time with her talent show performance. 7F steps up to negotiate with 8F, who surprisingly agrees easily. All she wants is to buy clothes with the money she secured by withholding the food. Everyone bends over backward to please her, but 7F considers it a good deal, believing it prevents her from thinking of worse ways to make them suffer. 1F and 2F graciously refuse to send their waste to Jin-soo, but he is overwhelmed by the rest, wondering if 4F is even taking her share. It turns out she isn't. Meanwhile, 8F has everyone playing king to entertain her and extend the time. They pick numbers anonymously at random, and the selected king asks for 2 numbers to perform a dare. The dares escalate until 8F dares 2F and Jin-soo to make out. When 2F refuses, 8F changes the dare to 2F, fighting 6F. The fight begins, and they quickly realize that 2F is a trained fighter, giving 6F no chance. However, 2F's injured hand from her tile-breaking talent show performance worsens when she throws a wrong punch, turning the tide of the fight. 6F seizes his chance and beats 2F to a pulp. 8F refuses to stop him unless 2F surrenders, but she is too beaten to speak. The men intervene to stop 6F, who rejoices, believing he has secured them multiple days. To prevent more violence, 4F suggests an alternative. If someone wants to skip their dare, they can get tased as punishment. Following this new rule, Jin-soo dared to grope 5F under her shirt. He hesitates before choosing the taser. He not only blacks out, but also pees himself, yet this secures him even more hours than 6F's beating of 2F. 30 days have passed since day 1. The king alternates between 8F and 4F. If 6F is selected for a dare, he almost always wins. The losers are usually Jin-soo or 2F. Finally, 1F figures out that the game is rigged. For instance, 4F can feel heads or tails with her palm during the coin toss because it is a heavily embossed coin, allowing her to flip it to the side. 6F calls. Angered, 1F, 2F, and Jin-soo share their theory with 7F. 7F already knew that 4F and 8F were selecting the king ball by making it sticky with acetone. He catches 4F one day and tells her to play fair to avoid suspicion. The next day, 1F becomes the king and dares 7F and 8F to a coin toss. He also asks 4F to use the back of her hand to catch the coin, preventing her from flipping it to the side 8F calls. Jin-soo feels it as karma when 8F loses. Before 7F can tase 8F, 6F kicks him and tases him, declaring it is time for a plot twist. The scene opens with 6F's backstory. He litters, easily gets naked, and only orders a pillow to sleep on. In the present, 7F finds himself in 8F's room with her, 4F, and 6F. The trio convinces him to join their side to control the chute for food to the lower levels. They purchase more tasers and bats, lock the square's intercom, and break the remaining floor's intercoms. A game within a game begins, with the upper floors now in control. As expected, 7F devises all the strategies to control the lower floors and extend the timer. Every day, 1F, 2F, Jin-soo, and 5F must play a random game with violent penalties. The winner has to execute the penalty, after which 9 coins will be distributed. The lower floors must secretly request a certain amount, but if the total exceeds 9, they won't receive any coins. Each coin equals water or food. The first game is hide and seek, with the upper floors beating those they find. As usual, 6F goes overboard with the violence when he finds 2F, but 7F intervenes to stop him. Jin-soo wins, and the penalty is a human piñata. Blindfolded, Jin-soo apologizes as he ends up beating 1F. When it comes to distributing the coins, Jin-soo tries to be altruistic and selects 1 coin, but everyone else picks 2 coins. The next day, the game is 20 questions. Jin-soo sets it up for 2F to win, hoping she can beat up 6F during the human piñata penalty. However, she misjudges her surroundings and accidentally smacks Jin-soo instead. This continues, and now 47 days have passed. At one point, all 4 lower floors ask for 3 coins each. Since the total is more than 9, they don't receive any. Jin-soo loses all hope and even contemplates voluntary death. The tide nearly turns when the lower levels attempt their first revolt by refusing to go to their rooms. But a diabetic 5F gives in when 6F offers 10 coins to the person who stands down first. Jin-soo feels hopeless until 1F comes up with an idea. On the right day, 1F will signal Jin-soo and 2F to come down the chute to his room. He will then lure 6F in and beat him. However, 7F overhears the plan and warns Jin-soo that the chute makes a sound when it stops at each floor. The lower floors worry if it is a trap, but they realize 7F is right about the chute's noise. On a particular day, they notice 4F, 6F, and 8F are bored, with only 7F overseeing the game. They decide it's time to act when 1F signals that he is sick. Early the next morning, 1F starts screaming for help. 8F, 7F, 6F, 5F, and 4F wonder what's happening and go to check. 6F realizes something is wrong with 2F and Jin-soo missing and hands 8F the taser. He barges into 1F's room and 2F and Jin-soo attack. The room is a mess as they stumble over the waste bags, but 6F manages to escape. He grabs the taser and tries to shoot, but it doesn't work because 7F has removed the batteries. 7F signals them and 2F knocks out 6F as her hand has healed now. The scene opens with 2F's backstory. She is a construction worker and the last participant, so her only option was to choose 2F. In the present, 4F, 6F, 7F, and 8F are tied up. The others try to take their revenge, but can't stomach doing anything violent. Jin-soo approaches 7F, hoping he was forced to team up with the upper floors. 7F simply apologizes, but the rest decide to let him go since he did help them. He even wipes his eyes, and Jin-soo thinks he is emotional. They leave 4F, 6F, and 8F tied in their rooms with the doors open. However, the rest still bring food and help the prisoners with their waste. The participants are in awe of 8F's room and spend their days there eating, bathing, and enjoying themselves. Initially, 2F stops them from spending 8F's money, but when 5F suggests buying a soju recipe, 8F is cocky about it. Taking that as a go-ahead, they also buy millions worth of equipment and make soju. 2F offers a glass to 7F as a peace offering. They have a great time, but 2F suggests ending the game. She is willing to give from her share to help 1F reach $1 billion, but they cannot stay any longer without compromising their dignity. 1F and Jin-soo are not happy about leaving, but there is a silent agreement. On the last day, they bathe, wash their clothes, and get ready to leave. Jin-soo would make $2.3 billion, 2F would get $1.5 billion, and 1F would get $766 million. However, the next morning, the timer suddenly extends to 45 hours. 2F is the angriest as they wonder who entertained the showrunners. It turns out 6F's toenails have been pulled out, and the next day, 4F's tooth is pulled out, extending the timer again. Frustrated, 2F locks everyone in except 5F, who will check on the tied-up prisoners. The guilt starts to consume 5F as the prisoners continuously whine about their pain and suffering. The cries and pleas for relief become too much for her to bear. Eventually, she begins to hallucinate, imagining 2F freeing 4F and 8F from their restraints. Overcome with excitement at the thought of their release, she shares the news with 6F, telling him that his turn for freedom will come soon. Sensing an opportunity, 6F pretends that 2F has sinister intentions and plans to kill him. He puts on a desperate act, pleading with 5F to release him before it's too late. His convincing performance heightens her anxiety and guilt, making her question her decisions even more. The scene shifts with 5F dreaming that they have all won, patched up their differences, and are about to happily leave together. This peaceful vision is abruptly interrupted by a violent scene where the prisoners are seen beating up the rest of the participants. The focus then moves to 5F's backstory, showing her entering the game with a heightened sense of paranoia and distrust. From the beginning, she is on edge, her anxiety evident as she navigates through the game with constant fear and suspicion. At present, 5F unties 6F, which instantly frees 8F and 4F. They quickly get together and beat up the rest of the participants before tying them up. After securing the others, 6F also ties 5F, and in a disturbing display of gratitude, forcefully kisses her. Taking control of the situation, he orders a gun and initiates a dangerous game of Russian roulette to uncover who pulled out his toenails. He shoots 7F, injuring him, but before he can get to 1F, Jin-soo comes up with a desperate idea. He suggests that 1F buy the CCTV footage to reveal the culprit. 8F, eager to see the outcome, spends 100 million won to obtain the footage. She is ecstatic when the video shows 1F using chloroform on 6F. As the footage continues, they all watch in horror as 1F methodically pulls out 6F's toenails and then urinates on his face, confirming 1F's betrayal in the most gruesome way. He rushes to kill 1F, but 8F quickly intervenes, tasing him before he can carry out his deadly intent. He collapses, breaking his back in the fall. 8F explains that he is too impulsive and that she doesn't want the game to end prematurely. She enjoys the power and the control too much to let it slip away just yet. Taking charge, 8F unties 5F, but she ensures that the rest of the participants remain securely bound and confined to their rooms. She doesn't want any further disruptions to her control. To solidify her dominance, she purchases CCTV footage for all the rooms, wanting to monitor every move they make. As she watches the live feeds, she becomes disturbingly turned on by their pain and suffering. The sight of their struggles and the sounds of their agony feed her twisted sense of pleasure. She relishes the power she holds over them, savoring every moment of their torment. The game, for her, has taken on a new dimension, one where their misery is her entertainment. But she soon realizes that, like her, the game runners are getting bored, and she comes up with a new idea: sleep deprivation, torture for the tied-up participants. She sets up loud alarms and bright lights to ensure they can't get any rest. The participants' agony and exhaustion delight her so much that she begins painting, inspired by their suffering. 5F is numbed by the horror of the situation and mechanically takes care of the participants, bringing them food and water and tending to their basic needs without emotion. She moves through the task like a robot, her mind trying to block out the cruelty surrounding her. Meanwhile, 4F adapts to the situation by going with the flow. She helps out wherever needed. Even cleaning up dog poop after 8F decides to buy a dog. The presence of the dog adds another layer of chaos and discomfort to the already dire conditions. But 4F complies without complaint, trying to keep things in order amid the madness. Jin-soo starts cracking, imagining that the 8 show is all in his head. He hallucinates the participants dancing around him, mocking his plight. The stress and lack of sleep are taking a severe toll on his sanity. Meanwhile, 1F tries to win 4F over to his side. He apologizes for pulling out her tooth, explaining that desperation drove him to it. She understands, admitting that she too would do anything for money. Sensing an opportunity, he asks if she wants to move to the 8th floor, hinting at a potential alliance. Skeptical, she doesn't believe it's possible. Then it cuts to 1F's backstory. He is a man who has always been on the fringes, scraping by in life with a series of menial jobs. He entered the game driven by the promise of a life-changing sum of money, willing to endure anything to secure his future. His desperation is palpable as he recalls the moments leading up to his decision to join the 8 show, the hopes he had for a better life, and the crushing realization of the game's brutal reality. The weight of his actions and the moral compromises he has made weigh heavily on him, but his resolve to survive and win remains unbroken. 1F shows up in a clown costume before heading to his assigned floor. As he reaches his room, he glances at his scoreboard and takes in the small, confined space. Feeling claustrophobic and desperate for a change, he asks the intercom if he can switch rooms. The intercom responds that it is possible for a price of 1 billion won. In the present, 4F is bringing Jin-soo back to reality and tells him about the plan to switch rooms. 4F also informs 2F, 5F, and 7F about the plan. Jin-soo is puzzled about their stealthy approach towards 8F, questioning why they don't confront her directly since he doubts she would actually fire her weapon. 4F clarifies that 8F is passionate about shooting, once nearly shot 4F, and frequently fantasizes about killing everyone. Regarding her daily habits, 8F hardly ever sleeps, spending her nights monitoring the CCTVs. During the day, she plays golf with 4F serving as her caddy. The only time she sets her gun aside is when she takes a bath. 4F subsequently encounters a drunken 5F and spins an exaggerated, tragic story about the participants teetering on the edge of death. Persuaded by the tale, 5F agrees to join the mission to rescue the tormented participants. The plan quickly goes awry when 8F decides she isn't in the mood for golf on D-Day. Nevertheless, 4F manages to persuade her, and once they are outside, 5F releases 2F. However, as 5F moves to the 3rd floor, Coco, 8F's dog, spots her and begins barking. 4F distracts 8F, allowing 5F to free Jin-soo, who struggles to move due to his stiff limbs. Coco then goes into a frenzy, drawing 8F's attention. 5F and Jin-soo hide in 6F's room, but 6F starts screaming. 8F hears the commotion and bursts in holding her gun, only to be knocked unconscious by 4F wielding a golf club. We learn a bit about 4F's past. She works as a valet and often deals with rude customers. One day, she encounters some of her former classmates among the customers. They mock her dream of becoming a K-pop idol, pointing out the disparity between her aspirations and her current job as a valet. Seizing the moment for revenge, 5F orders medical equipment and supplies, then uses them to castrate 6F in retaliation for the forced kiss. In a flashback to 6F's life, we learn that he was once a talented baseball player with a promising career. However, his life took a dark turn when he was kicked off the team for illegal gambling. Struggling to make ends meet after his fall from grace, he now works as a car salesman, haunted by the mistakes of his past. Once 5F completes her work, they all move to 1F's room. 1F has plans to spend the money he earns to purchase changing rooms. Once 8F is tied up, 1F decides to switch places with 6F first, and then 4F swaps with 8F. He pays 1 billion for the switch, leaving him with just a few thousand. However, he soon realizes that the 1 billion only bought him the instructions on how to switch rooms. The actual costs to switch rooms are much higher, with the 1st floor priced at 10 billion and the 8th floor at 340 billion. Essentially, 1F spent $1 billion on an envelope containing instructions. 2F offers to share her prize money with 1F, but insists she can no longer stay in the studio. In 7F's backstory, we learn that his real name is Mr. Yu, a passionate scriptwriter whose work is consistently rejected by producers. They criticize his scripts for being too realistic, while what they seek is content that is purely entertaining and sensational. This constant rejection leaves Mr. Yu disillusioned but determined to stay true to his artistic vision. The story of 2F delves into her challenging life as a construction worker. One day, a tragic accident occurs on the job, and one of her co-workers is severely injured. Despite her own financial struggles, 2F selflessly offers to cover the medical bills to save her co-worker's life. The others agree with 2F, but as they move toward the square, 1F suddenly pulls a gun on them. He needs to increase his prize money, which requires the game to continue. He forces the participants to tie each other up and watch him. To extend the timer, 1F begins jumping on a tightrope. As he touches the projector on the ceiling, it falls and bursts into flames. 1F loses his balance, falls into the fire, and is severely burned. Meanwhile, the participants, who had tied each other loosely, quickly freed themselves and attempted to extinguish the flames. Jinsu intercoms for help, but the timer ominously changes to 1440 hours or 60 days. 7F loses his composure, demanding to know what more the showrunners want to see. Jinsu gets an idea and starts shooting the CCTVs. 2F joins him, and together they create a digital blackout by shooting the last CCTV camera in the shoot. With no way to entertain the audience, the timer resets to 0. The door finally opens, but it's too late for 1F. He apologizes to his daughter before succumbing to his injuries. However, since he died after the game ended, the participants are declared winners. 8F tears up, believing this turn of events provides a perfect ending for the game. After enduring severe mental and physical torture, Jinsu spends his days wasting away at home. The only confirmation that the game wasn't a figment of his imagination is the prize money in his bank account. Despite having half his winnings deducted for destroying the CCTVs, he still has over 1 billion won. He also discovers that the game lasted for 2.5 months and was never broadcast to a public audience. Deciding to pay his respects to 1F, Jinsu organizes a funeral and advertises the date. Only 2F, 4F, and 5F attend. Jinsu tracks down 1F's wife by searching for circuses in Seoul and learns that 7F gave a portion of his earnings to her, telling her that 1F was working overseas. Although 6F does not attend the funeral, he sends a condolence wreath. As the funeral attendees part ways, they catch wind of the news about 8F's downfall. She's been arrested for destroying the art gallery. Having used up all her money to cover the damages, she now languishes in prison. Satisfied with the conclusion of her story, the funeral goers bid their farewells. Each of them carries with them the weight of their experiences, but also a sense of closure as they embark on their individual paths forward. The series concludes with a mid-credit scene. Mr. Yu, also known as 7F, returns to the network executive and presents him with the script of The 8 Show. The executive questions why there isn't much focus on the top floors in the ending, to which 7F responds that the audience wouldn't want them to succeed. The executive then jokingly suggests that he was part of the game as well, which is how he amassed his wealth. Initially taken aback, 7F is relieved when the executive clarifies that he was only joking and questions whether the events of the show are indeed real. 7F assures him that it's all fictional, though he appears slightly shaken by the exchange.